Right, good morning everybody, even though there's nobody on the chat yet, but welcome to the Darkstar. Yeah, Darkstar stream. I'd call it something else, but a slightly different look today. Especially after yesterday, which was a little bit of an eventful day for me, so to speak, with the dog disappearing. But unfortunately we got him back. Right, I'm just trying to do a couple of things, sort myself out. I think I'm set up. That's about something else I was about to do. Don't know. No, it comes to me. Whatever it is. Morning, Mark. Hello. God, it didn't take you long to get on board. I suppose you get notifications, don't you? Right, so yeah, there we go. Here's a Darkstar China Lake. Which is just default scenery, but it'll certainly do for what we're planning to do today. I think this is the evening, so we're going to be chasing the sun westbound. Do you want to just double check? Torches on. Controls look good. Yeah. Right, let's see if we can get this bad boy started. It's not going to take us very long to do this, I don't think. If we carry on to where is it? Misawa in Japan. We'll sort ourselves out once we're in Honolulu. Anyway, so make sure their off parking brake is on. Good. Yep. That's all looking good. Nav beacon strobes, they can come on. They're not on yet because I haven't got electrical power. That's fine. There's a button somewhere, isn't there? Is that it? It's that one, isn't it? That's the one. That's the one I was after. Right. Put that on night. Put that on night. Turn these down. Don't need these. So that's good. So we're going to start the engines. Get these ready. Start the APU because need that. Morning, Dark. Now we troll your YouTube. Your notifications don't work. Do they not? What SOPs are we using? There we go, Mark. Nick, some made-up ones. Yeah, sort of. I've been practicing with this offline for a while, and sort of practicing this sort of profile that it's got, and it sort of works. It sort of doesn't. I sort of adapted a little bit. I go a little bit higher, and then I sort of descend, and then sort of pull up. So I sort of follow it sort of similarly, I suppose. That's what it says. But I'll adapt it a little bit, and I'll also I'll discuss a couple of things that I do in regards to the speed, which some people may not be aware of what happens to your speed as you climb. Some people will, but do you have an easy chat, SOPs? Yeah. So I suppose it wouldn't take me long to write some SOPs for this thing. There's only a few buttons to press, so it's fine. Right, anyway, that's good. So that's going. So let's start engine 1. Doesn't think it really matters which one we're starting. And then I believe this aircraft should do certain things with regards to the engines at certain speeds. It seems a bit buggy, doesn't it? I think it's supposed to shut off the engines at some times, but it doesn't always do it. That's what I was going to look at. Is there a fuel panel? That's what I was after. Yeah, that's what I might need, because I might need to top up the fuel once we get down the other end. But I need to redo the flight plan as well. And how's the... Alright, that looks good. That looks good. Switch you on. And then I think if you just go... I just switch this to off. There you go. That should... No, it turns off. So this is what I don't understand. Like, you've got to turn it on and leave it on, I think, until you get in the air. I don't quite understand how it works, but that's alright. We'll leave it as it is. Alright, start engine 2, the right engine. So I'm not too sure these switches are quite correctly done. Oh, I suppose actually if I actually turn the master switch down, if these make any difference in the bindings or the thrust levers, it might do. I'll show you the map in a minute what I've done. So that's looked like it's stable. That can come on. Switch that on just in case. So if I turn this off now, will it stay on? That's a bit better. Yeah, I think I actually need to switch the switches on the thrust quadrant. So that hopefully That stays on, good. I think. Yeah, that's looking good. Generators are on. That can go off. They're staying alive. That's good. Right, let's have a quick look at the map. That one there. In terms of the route we're doing. So I've got us going out of China Lake and then over the top of Los Angeles. So we go to the top of there and we make a little right-hand turn across the Pacific down to Honolulu. And I think the wind's sort of easterly at Honolulu at the minute, so we've got just a little route coming in, just sort of a base turn around here. In terms of descent planning, I haven't quite worked it out yet, but it's sort of a few hundred miles to go. You can sort of cut the thrust and just come down and idle it and just have a nice steep descent into the airfield. So we'll give that a go and see how it works. Shouldn't take too long, probably take about half an hour this flight, I should imagine. But anyway, that's all done. That's done. We can have the landing lights on. Quick flight control check. Spoilers are good. I don't plan on using the afterburner to take off. We've got pretty decent runway. I even find just full military dry thrust is usually good enough. I think about 200 knots you can rotate, and I try and get the gear up. Hopefully it should be up by 300 knots. That's sort of my make-believe VLE, is it? I can't remember which one it is, but yeah, make believe sort of, you know, try and make sure we're above 300 knots for the gear. Right, torches off, don't need that anymore. So we can taxi out. Taxi should be pretty straightforward, just out here, then a right turn, and then we're taking off on 2-1, which is this one here. So that's good. Parking brake is off. I don't have any shoes on, which feels really weird on the rudder pedals. So we'll clear that way. Obviously this isn't on VATSIM either, because I don't think you're really allowed to do this on VATSIM, which is a shame because I think it'd be quite good fun. The inverted level off to the first climb segment, and the following descent is a same topic at 320. It's on Discord. Speed is low under the drag curve. Yeah, so I'll try and discuss it, Christian, and what I'm do. Alright, brakes a check. Oh God, Jesus Christ! Honestly, got suicidal follow me trucks and another one. Ugh. Yeah, not the most intelligent people over here, are they? So again, this isn't really a tutorial designed on how to fly the Darkstar, but it's just kind of what I do because it does seem to work to a degree. Just trying to find my way as well. No runway lights on. Yeah. Turn right up here, I think. This would be a pain in the ass to control that to me. Well, you would need just direct clearances from ATC, I think, everywhere. Okay, probably missed a turn, that's fine, we'll just backtrack. So the plan is to be sort of subsonic until we get over Los Angeles, so we're not going to start going supersonic until we're sort of over the sea, which is sort of, I suppose, any sort of supersonic aircraft in the military is kind of what they do. It's about an hour dark, yeah, it's something, it's not very long, that sort of flight. I know there's another paint scheme you can get for the Darkstar as well, which I haven't got yet, which I think is more sort of skunk works, which would be quite cool. But I haven't got that far yet. Ooh, and alright, probably using a bit too much of the displaced threshold for the turn, never mind. Go on, girl. Yeah, something like that, Christian. I can't remember exactly what it was for Concorde, but we sort of emulate similar sort of rules for this thing. So again, I'm not going to use the afterburn. I don't really think that's necessary. It's a nice long runway, even at full fuel loads. It seems to go pretty quick, and basically the plan is to get the gear up and secure by sort of 300 knots. So that's all good. We've done the flight controls, everything else is good. Fuel pumps should be all on. Well, it's just from the front at the minute, but that's okay. This will sort of automatically sort itself out, but I will adjust these once we're in the sort of climb as well. And I think we're ready to go. So, it's about 150 knots, starting to rotate. Airborne gears coming up. Got a nice high pitch. So gear is up, which is good. Don't need the landing lights, they can go off. We'll just climb away. Let me know if it's too noisy. I think it's probably a bit noisier than the Airbus. So start turning left. We'll try to get to about 40,000 feet, 40,000 feet for top of the Los Angeles. If we can sort of plan for about Mach 0.9, that should work. Oh, wait. Obviously this thing climbs pretty well. And again, I'm not using the afterburner because it's just going to use a lot of fuel, so it's not really necessary. So just sort of going to climb at pretty much a sort of constant indicator airspeed, about 300 knots. 300 knots to 350 knots should be pretty good, and that'll get us to about 0.9 pretty quick. And then as soon as we get to a 0.9, we can then lower the nose or raise the nose, and then we can just sort of maintain a sort of constant Mach. Sound is fine, good. It's sort of really loud in my headset. There we go, just turn the volume down on my headset. I think that's what it is. We should be chasing the sun to Honolulu. So obviously the speed's dropping off a bit, so I'm just going to lower the pitch. This is quite a good aircraft actually, because you sort of learn, well, I suppose a bit too fast really to probably learn, but you're learning sort of pitch power techniques, or sort of how to control the airspeed using the pitch. So it's quite a good aircraft just to sort of develop those sort of skills. So we've got about 90 miles to go. Generally it takes about 10 minutes to do 80 miles at sort of normal cruise speeds for like the airliners. So probably about 10 minutes we'll be over the top of Los Angeles. And then once we're over the coast, then we'll just give it the beans and we'll start accelerating. The other thing I do is I keep the strobes and the nav lights on, so they're going to stay on until we get to sort of pre-Mach 1, and then I'll turn them off as we sort of transition to supersonic flights. Because I imagine you don't really want the beacons out when you start accelerating and get a little bit faster. Overland above 28,000 feet, yeah. I mean, the Concorde didn't go supersonic at all, did it? Sort of overland. So it had sort of very specific sort of flight routes it followed. Alright, so again, so airspeed's a little bit lower, the Mach's a little bit low, but just going to sort of level off. We're going to level off in the next sort of 10,000 feet. Nothing too severe, just to sort of get these sort of altitudes, and then we can just cruise along there, probably about Mach 9, until we get over the top of Los Angeles. If only I could take this thing down to Malaga every week, it'd be so much quicker. Again, we just sort of lower the nose and level off, we just start slowly accelerating. There's a couple of things that I've done on the graphics as well, which I talked about in a couple of the other streams. I've increased the windscreen reflections, because I like having these reflections where you kind of see what's going on. Because this was all a blur previously, which I didn't really like because you didn't really see it, and so the sort of graphics are a little bit better on this. And I did increase the shadows as well, but you're not going to see those. Who dares wins, yeah. what I might do there, 34, if I go 34.5, I can't remember what the flight levels are at this sort of height. So I'm going to go 34.5, so that would deconflict you generally with any other traffic. So that would do. Keep an eye on the Mac, and then we'll adjust the thrust as necessary. See the indicator airspeed now sort of just very slowly increasing. So what we want to do, or what I do now to get this thing to sort of supersonic flights and sort of hypersonic flights, is once you've done this sort of inverted rollover, so sort of basically, we like the afterburners sort of climb up, climb to about 40,000 feet. And then we roll the aircraft over inverted, pull down to about 20 degrees, and then just accelerate to about 20 degrees nose down angle. And so you get to about 1.5 Mach, which takes, it's about 20,000 feet. You get to about 20,000 feet, then you can start pulling up again. Then what you want to do really is you want to sort of climb at a constant indicated airspeed. And the reason you want to climb at a constant indicated airspeed is it's difficult to sort of explain. But if you imagine a sort of chart with like an X and Y axis, and you've got sort of, it's just effective, just imagine you have two lines, just for simplicity's sake. You've got an indicated airspeed line and a Mach line. And if one of those lines is vertical, so if the indicated airspeed, which is be on the left, if that's vertical, as imagine this is the altitude, sorry, this is the speed and this is the height. So if your indicated airspeed was constant, as you climb, your Mach increases. And similarly, if you keep your Mach the same and you climb, your indicated airspeed decreases. So kind of what you want to do is you want to, once you get to about 1.5 Mach, you start pitching up again to sort of get to the transonic stage. You want to effectively climb at a constant indicated Mach number. So imagine that indicated airspeed. So imagine that indicated airspeed, that line is just vertical and straight. Because you're climbing at a fixed indicated airspeed, your Mach is going to increase, which is what you want. You want to get to about Mach 3 points, sort of 3.5, I suppose, Mach 3, Mach 4. And as soon as you get to that sort of height, that's when you can engage the scramjets, and then that's what basically gives you the extra thrust. Now, one thing it is supposed to do, I believe the main engines are supposed to shut down once you get to about Mach 4, sorry. But this doesn't seem to happen all the time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But it's quite easy. All you got to do is you just got to switch the fuel pumps off, and then the sort of normal engines, the air combustion engines, then shut down. But you still accelerate because the scramjets are working, so you don't actually need them above that Mach 4. So if they don't switch off automatically, you just turn the fuel pumps off and then they shut down, which is great because then you don't use any fuel in the normal engines, because you kind of want that when you come into land. So that's sort of how I do. We'll roughly go through it again in a minute when we start turning right over the sea, and I'll sort of show you what I do. And then if you just sort of follow this profile to a degree, as you get Mach 3, Mach 4, scramjets come on, and then you basically accelerate and climb up to about 120,000 feet, more or less. You can climb higher, but your ground speed, what you're looking for, is probably about 5,600 miles an hour. You can get a little bit higher. Try not to go into the red range. I assume the red range is sort of a bit like VNE, never exceed speed, so we don't really want to go into that too much because it probably wouldn't be very good with the aircraft. So there we go, so almost there. Approaching Los Angeles. Don't need the torch. Let me know, do you want inside view or outside view for this next few minutes? I think the inside view is quite cool, but the outside view gives you a little bit more things to look at. So I'm not expecting any problems today. Tom Cruise didn't give a fuck, did he? Yeah, but then he had to bail out, didn't he? So, I don't want to bail out again today. I had to bail out yesterday. I mean, God, that was traumatic. So yeah, those of you that didn't realise or didn't see yesterday, our dog was at doggy daycare yesterday for the first time, and he's quite attached to me and his mum. you know, he's a good boy. He's pretty well behaved. He's usually pretty chilled, and he was shaking like a leaf when we dropped him off in the doggy daycare, which obviously broke my heart. But we thought, oh well, he'd get used to it once he sort of plays with a few other dogs, because he is really friendly. He's not aggressive or anything, and he's really good with other dogs, and he just wants to play. And once he gets used to it a little bit more, he'll start chilling out and everything. And what I didn't realise, or probably missed the point, I'm sure my missus said it, was that they were actually going to take him out for a walk. Now, we've already said that we don't really want anybody else taking him out for a walk unless we're there, because we want to be there with them so that, you know, he gets used to the other dog walkers and he doesn't get, you know, sort of too stressed and everything else. But they basically took him out around to one of the woods near us, and he slipped the lead somehow. He got, you know, he missed them. I don't know what happens. I've got no idea. But basically, they lost him, and he ran from the woods, which is near us. Well, it's about sort of, you know, I suppose 6-7 miles away. And he started running back towards where we live, in the sort of general direction, not exactly, but general sort of direction where we live. And we obviously raced over. You know, that's it. You know, you might have heard my missus saying we had to go and we had to sort of drive up to where they were, and they told us where he was last seen. And you know, effectively, I was just driving like a Formula 1 driver. You know, it wasn't particularly safe. It certainly wasn't legal, but just trying to sort of follow his last steps. And every time we came across someone in a car, we were like, you know, have you seen this dog? And they're like, yeah, he's down there. And you know, one of the last persons we saw, he said, oh yeah, he's through this next village. And we were like, Jesus Christ, that's a main road. That's a main road between two of the main towns near us. We just, you know, we were just thinking the worst, thinking, you know, Jesus, that's, you know, we got lorries, buses, all sorts of things on those roads, and we were just, you know, we were terrified. We just thought we were going to sort of turn up and he was going to be laying there at the side of the road, or, you know, quite literally roadkill. You know, probably worst case, or, you know, somebody in a Land Rover or something hit him, and, you know, we were just preparing ourselves for the absolute worst, which obviously wasn't very nice at all. And, you know, it tracked him down. I managed to track him down another road, and got to a junction, asked this other lady in a car, and she said, oh yeah, he's down there. And literally, you know, 10 seconds later I was down the road and he was sort of running towards me. You know, he was very, very stressed, very sort of slobbery, but, you know, seemed to be walking okay. Didn't look like he'd been hit or anything. His paws were really, really sore and bleeding a little bit. We took him straight down the vet, but they gave him a good check out, and, you know, he did actually seem okay. So, you know, by the bloody grace of God, he was okay. There's a bit of a lag there. It might be still going. But yeah, just terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I mean, those of you that got kids, you know, would sort of know how we feel. Dead neighbourhoods, yeah, it's, yeah, just horrible, just horrible. You know, I mean, animals are like our second children, aren't they? And, you know, we've lost animals before, and it's always been heartbreaking. And, you know, just thank God, you know, somebody was looking down on him, whether it was, you know, one of our old animals that we've lost. I don't know, but just thank God he was okay. And the worst he's got, he's really knackered. He's really tired. He's really limping at the minute, probably just because his paws are really sore and his joints are probably a little bit sore. But, you know, on the whole, I think it's just a bit of superficial damage. But yeah, that's why I had to disappear so quickly yesterday, which was annoying because the stream was actually going quite well. Actually looked like I was going to land in Lucerne. So anyway, I might delete that stream because obviously it's, I don't know. You know, let me know. Do you want me to delete it? Do you want me to keep it? I put a note in the description why I had to leave so suddenly. But, you know, it's not going to serve much purpose really other than the departure. But yeah, just thank God he's okay. But, you know, the thing is, I don't want to leave him now. I don't want to let him out of my sight. So if you ever get on an aircraft and you see a dog at the entrance to the flight deck, you know I'm probably flying it. Bless his little cottons. Right, anyway, we're coming up to the turn. So we're turning to the west now, follow this waypoint. And once we're over the coast, we can start looking to accelerate. And again, you can see sort of, I'm still at full thrust. So can you see it? Probably not very well, but yeah, the thrust lever's still at full thrust, and we're just maintaining this nice sort of 0.9 Mach at this sort of height really nicely. So it's just really good for sort of a bit of sort of cross-country sort of flying. And of course, the other thing is that the turn diameter of this thing at sort of hypersonic speeds is phenomenal. You know, it's probably in the excess of sort of 600 or 700 miles to 180-degree turn. So if you're doing any sort of sharp turns on different tracks, you really don't want to be going that fast. No, I know. I thing is, like, I want to keep it. I want streams on the channel to actually be useful. You know, maybe useful to people. I don't really want just a random video which sort of just stops suddenly and isn't actually of much value to anybody. So, if it's not really of much value, then I just delete it. I mean, you know, I'm doing plenty of streams every now and again, so I mean, the content is sort of slowly growing. So I'm not too worried about it. If it needs to go, it needs to go. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, Lee, like you say, thank God. You know, it's not nice to be reminded of it, but at least he's bloody okay. Yeah, it's horrible, Christian. You do have to sort of mentally prepare yourself, and it's not pleasant. You know, we've had to do it a few times, and it never gets any easier. You know, it never gets any easier when they sort of cross that rainbow bridge. But you know, we do try and just sort of think, you know, at least we've given them a good life, best life we can give them, which is kind of what we think. Right, anyway, as we're crossing the coast, so a couple of sort of pre-supersonic checks, which I do, so just because the heats want the beacon off the nav lights, we're going to hypersonic now, so we're not going to get in the way of anybody. So that could come, and the next thing we can do is basically lit the afterburners. So, 3, 2, 1. So now we're starting to accelerate, and what I want to do is I want to climb for maybe another 5,000 feet. Get to about 40,000 feet, and then I'll roll over. So again, just quite happy to sort of stay at this sort of indicated airspeed. And next thing I want to do as well, I do want to prepare the scramjets. So I'm going to turn that on, get them ready, and get that ready to engage when we need it. So almost going through Mach 1 in the climb. Is there a stream schedule? There isn't, Bevy. I'm going to do it when I can. You know, when I've got a time. I could sort of get. I can kind of get a little bit of a schedule going. So obviously I know my days off and everything, so I can kind of do it. But the thing is, if I'm going to plan a stream, which has got certain scenery or aircraft or whatever, and then it kind of doesn't work for whatever reason, it sort of ruins the schedule. So I don't like being too stuck to a schedule because, you know, it may not always work. Where like this, you know, I was thinking I'd do another Airbus flight today, but I want to do something different. You know, I said I'm going to do something different this week, and I did want to do something different. So I do want to just sort of go outside the envelope a little bit. Envelope, however you want to pronounce it. Right, so we're getting to about 40,000 feet now, so we're going to start rolling over. The other thing I want to do is I want to try and keep the G within a sort of certain tolerance. Don't really want to get it to the red limit, because again, that's probably just sort of indicating it's going to get a little bit of stress for the aircraft. And this is going to be a sort of a barrel roll manoeuvre, so I'm going to go sort of left. So with a left turn, I'm going to start heading left, but then I'll sort of roll left again, back on track as we come back round. So there's 40,000 feet, so that's looking good. So pitch up a little bit, just so we don't lose height in the first roll. Airspeed's good. So rolling left. And then we want to pitch down to about 20 degrees. And rolling left again, let's get it back on track. And going through Mach 1. And just pull back round on track. So we'll probably get to about 20,000 feet, approximately, to get 1.5, and then we just pull up gently, and then we just pull up to sort of hold sort of fixed indicated airspeed. So back on track there. And actually get to 1.5 pretty quick, so it should be pretty good. So 48, 49, 450, right, so there's the pull up, so not too much, just don't want to over-G the aircraft. And as expected, sort of bottom out just around 20,000 feet. So what's that, 19.6, 19.5, so about, yeah, 19,500 feet. So now what we want to do is we want to sort of climb, not too steep, but we just want to hold that indicated airspeed. And the reason we want to hold that indicated airspeed is because if it's a fixed indicated airspeed, the Mach's just going to increase as we climb. So we're just going to get to sort of Mach 3, Mach 4 a little bit quicker. We're not going to get that much height in that time, but, you know, we're going to accelerate. That's the sort of most efficient way to accelerate. And And then once we're about Mach 3, Mach 4, we can engage the scramjets. And once they're all engaged, then we can sort of look to shut down the main engines. So again, just sort of hold in a good pitch to sort of keep that airspeed. Again, this is not an official tutorial on how to fly this thing. It's the way that I fly it which seems to work the best. But you know, vertical climb rate is pretty good. So again, you can see the Mach meter really nice, increasing at a pretty good rate. Which is what we want. Indicated airspeed is still climbing, so just increase that pitch a little bit. So really starting to go now. As we leave the States behind. Alright, so now that's coming off, so let's get the scramjets on. So they're on, so we should get a little bit of a kick in a minute. And there's the scramjets engaging, and the Mach's increasing quite nicely. So yeah, after about Mach 4, these should be switching off, but they're not really doing that. So what I do now is I just turn the fuel pumps off, and then they shut down. But it doesn't make any difference to the Mach, because the scramjets are still engaged. So the Mach's still increasing, but it's just going to save the fuel for the main engines. And then as we sort of get to about 80,000 feet, it's just a gentle push over, because we want to get to about 120,000 feet. And the Mach will steadily increase as we do it. Actually gone pretty quick, 9.6. So yeah, just creeping into the red band, but that's okay. Yeah, we can sort of more or less level off there. Then we can see the ground speed as well. So yeah, it's almost settled down quite nicely, about 5,800 miles an hour, which is good. So you can work that out how many miles a minute we're doing pretty quick. And then we can just give it a little bit of left and right bank just to sort of stay on course. Epic thumbnail. And now we're starting to chase the sun. There we go. So I don't want to climb too much. I mean, you can get to sort of, 240,000 feet on these things quite easily, but I don't know, I read something on a forum that is probably not the most efficient way of doing it. I don't think it is, because really what you want is you want the fastest ground speed. That's what you're after. You want as fast as ground speed as possible. And I think I have tried it. I've tried climbing up to that sort of height, and it doesn't increase the ground speed at all, so it's not really achieving anything in the grand scheme of things. 120,000 feet does seem to be a bit of the sweet spot, I think, for it. The indicated airspeed does drop off quite a lot as well, and you don't want that dropping off to sort of the bottom of the speed scale, because that doesn't really make any difference at these sort of heights. It's just looking a bit uncomfortable. So 1,900 miles to go. That's not going to take us too long. There's not much out here to look at. That's the only thing. If anybody's on a boat, they're probably just seeing this sort of red-orange glow just go over the top of them. Right, the descent's the next main thing, and that's quite interesting. I haven't quite worked out exactly when you want to do it, but I noticed it's probably about sort of 300 miles or so. It does slow down really quickly. Cook your meal. Yeah, have some bacon and eggs now. So if you start slowing down about sort of 300 miles, that's usually pretty good, and it does sort of slow down really quick as soon as you turn the scramjets off. It is very, very quick to slow down, but you don't want to be flying too long on your main engines, because it just takes a bit longer. Let's have a look at the charts. So there we go, left China Lake, and we're going all the way down to. Ask me mum. Hang on a minute, let me just ask me mum. Right, yeah, sorry guys, I was on the phone to my mum, just double checking on the dog. Right, so back with fuel. So there we go, not far to go now, so about 800 miles, which isn't going to take very long at all. So in terms of descent, basically it's about sort of 400 miles, 300 to 400 miles I think is usually pretty good. You just basically cut the thrust, slow right down, and then you can just you can do a very steep approach. Effectively what I plan to be is I just want to sort of get to a sort of decent profile by about sort of 10 to 15 miles. So usual sort of height rules apply, 10 miles, sort of 3,000 feet, 15 miles, 5,000 feet. So as long as you're sort of in those gates, you can sort of set up effectively for a normal sort of 3-degree approach. But you know what happens before then, you know, it is really up to you. I mean, we don't have got pressurization to worry about or anything like that, so it's not really a major issue. So as long as you sort of slow down in time and you know, sort of get down to those sort of gates, that's really all the sort of you know, rules I'm sort of applying for really. Again, sort of gear, I sort of try and get the gear down about 250 knots. You know, it seems to be like pretty sort of consistent. Again, sort of put the nav lights on and everything. Sort of once we're below Mach 1, and then the sort of flight plan, which you may just have seen. Get that up. So I've just created, these are just sort of random waypoints on the flight plan. There you go. Custom waypoints just to sort of set you up for a final. So yeah, just sort of something to follow really for the arrival into Honolulu. So yeah, that's the plan. Again, it's pretty straightforward, and then really the approach speed is about 180 to 200 knots. Not be much slower than that, I don't think. As long as you've got sort of 3,000 metre long runway, usually pretty good for sort of stopping distance. But it's really sensitive in pitch in the flare. So you sort of want to aim for the threshold just before it, and then just sort of before you get near the threshold, you can sort of use a little bit of the view outside the windows, just to give you a little bit sort of depth perception, I suppose, if you can. And then just sort of flare ever so slightly, and then sort of almost just chop the power, and just as long as you don't sort of float too much. If you start going up, I do find if you're above the runway and then you start going up again, you know, it's more or less an immediate go around. I just think there's not really much room to play with in this thing. So you know, the flare is quite a delicate manoeuvre really. If you don't get it right first time, you just go around and try again. But you know, we've still got plenty of fuel in the left and right tanks, which is the fuel for the main engines. So these should automatically start now. So once we start the descent and above a sort of certain height or below a certain speed, these should automatically start up, and the fuel pumps will start coming back on. So these will just look after themselves. Probably we'll see the Hawaiian Islands probably soon-ish. Then once landed, we can top the tanks up again, and then we can look at going to Misawa Airbase in Japan. I might have to go back to the main menu to do that, because I need to sort of what you need to do, you need to sort the flight plan out. You need to put a flight plan in. I don't think I can do that while still in the aircraft. I don't know. I mean, somebody else will miss an epic backing track. Yeah. Need a bit of Top Gun, don't we? Don't know. I wonder if this probably won't play in the background. You never know. Have a look at that. It's starting to go down in a minute. Yeah, it's just being really slow. I probably can't play anyway because it'd be copyright on it, so let's just forget that. Right, so we got about 300 miles to go, so the plan is now just to sort of reduce the thrust quite slowly, because it's going to drop the Mach really, really quickly. There we go. So basically idling the thrust. So that would have been a few G's. And start pitching down. I have done this a little bit too early. Well, what am I doing? There we go. So we can start seeing the Hawaii Islands coming on in the distance. Maybe a little bit early on the descent, but that's all right. Right, reasonably well timed for the missus. She wants lunch, so this will be good because we can land and then I can park up and then we can start again. So I might do another stream after this. I might stop this one and then start another one and then carry on to Japan. But just while I have lunch because she's getting hungry. So yeah, don't deny a woman her food. So again, I'm not really following the profile for the deceleration because I don't really get it too much. 9.4, push down to 15 degrees, and then pull up. So yeah, I don't really follow that too much. So I don't really care too much. I just sort of eyeball it, I suppose. But it will slow down really, really quickly. Without synthetic vision, yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would be impossible. Well, you need a little telescope. You need some sort of, you know, window or something to do that, I think. So a little bit off track. It's just coming back round. What I did want to do is I wanted to do a couple of streams with, you know, like a sort of a route, like a mission, as if you're going sort of over Russian airspace or something like that. But the range of the Darkstar, it's not quite good enough. It's only sort of 4,000 miles or something like that. But it's really difficult to get a route where you can plan to go over Russian airspace and sort of get from one safe country to another. So yeah, it's a little bit difficult. I don't really want to be climbing. Yeah, I don't think the pitch attitude's that bad, Christian. About 200 knots is still pretty good. You know, you can sort of, as you go up and you go left, no, if you go left in the normal view, you can sometimes sort of see it. So it's not that horrific. Alright, let's start slowing down again. Put a bit of thrust off. Once you get to sort of like 350 knots, if you just descend at that sort of constant airspeed, again, this is what we're talking about, you sort of descend at a constant IS, so imagine you're going down in height, so your Mach, imagine it's a slanted line to the right, that's going to decrease as well, so your Mach's going to descend, so as long as you descend at a constant IS. I'm sure there probably is some formula of how to descend this thing properly, but I'm not too sure. The closer we get, we can really start bringing the power off. And we have got spoilers as well to help us. So let's keep the pitch down. Don't want to accelerate too much. There's a bit of cloud over Honolulu. Not that we should need it. Try and make a cam set top left to top right, so to look outside. Yeah, how would I do that? Again, Don't forget you talking to Christian. I don't know how to do these things. No, it's probably not what I want to do. I mean, it's not that good of a view, to be fair. It's okay, but... So we do want to sort of watch the porpoising. Sometimes it does start porpoising a bit and going up and down, so we want to stop that. So let's just turn the scramjets off, I think. So hopefully it should slow down a bit more. And here's the engines coming back on as well, and all the fuel pumps are on, so that's looking good as well. So again, next, as we start approaching Mach 1, we'll start getting the beacons back on. It doesn't matter if we go a little bit far from here, because we've got waypoints in just to guide us back. So yeah, not the greatest view. Oh well, not too much to see of Honolulu. So again, I know the flight plan is sort of taking us over the west of the island here, so as long as I sort of aim for this little bit, we're going to be in a pretty good place. So again, I don't know how far away this waypoint is from the runway, but as soon as about 10-15 miles, we're sort of about 5,000 feet around there, we're going to be in pretty good shape-ish. We don't want to bypass this waypoint too much because we want it to sort of sequence to the next one. So approaching Mach 1, so temperature's pretty good, so get the lights back on. Yeah, they've already come on, Christian, that's what I'm saying. So they do automatically switch on in the descent. They don't seem to switch off automatically in the climb. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So it seems to be a bit of a bug. I don't know. I don't think I've really done anything differently because there's not really many buttons to press or set up. But this is why I just switched the fuel pumps. As soon as the scramjets are on, I turn the fuel pumps off and then they just switch down. So there's no need to be using them once we go in sort of hypersonic. So we're slowing down quite nicely, you don't want to go much slower than that, so just keep the thrust on. Maintain this sort of indicated airspeed. So yeah, that's probably, well, that's 40 miles, so yeah, it's probably about 15 miles more or less. When you would fly the Phoenix? Well, I flew it yesterday, Pheno. So I wanted to do something a bit different today because just repetition gets a bit boring. Something a little bit different. Right, it says Honolulu over there, that direction. We start coming round. So yeah, if you've got about 25 miles to run-ish, that's what's about 8,000 feet. So yeah, we are hard, but we're descending so much faster than what we normally do in Airbus. It's not really a major issue. Yeah, we know the runway, I think, is going to be there. I think that's the southerly runway. So I think we're planning on the left runway on this one. everything you need to take into account for this as well is the elevation of the airfield. So this is sea level, so it's quite easy, but it just helps your descent planning. If you're going somewhere that's a little bit higher elevation, you need to sort of think about that. You know, if you're 15 miles and 5,000 feet, but you've got 1,000-foot elevation, then you know you're probably 1,000 feet too low. So yeah, just always worth considering just the elevation of the actual airport you go into. Sounds like an electric car. So again, I'm reasonably happy with the profile because we'll just descend and we know this is the path going in. There's got to be something military there, I'd imagine. It looks like a range, doesn't it? Some sort of military range. I'm sure somebody will know what that is. I don't think there is Vino. I mean, well, there might be. You might be able to tune it, actually, to be fair. I don't know how you display it, but does anybody know what the ILS is for, was it 09 left? And if you can pick that up quickly and give it to me, then it might work. No, there's no VNAV, no, this is all eyeball, mate. This is all you just working out how to do. So, yeah, 10 miles, 6,000 feet, so yeah, still a tiny little bit high, but that's fine. We're sort of accommodating that. A little bit of rudder. Doesn't seem to have auto rudder in this sort of thing. Just keep the turn coordinated to a degree. Just slowing down a little bit. Right, there's the airport over there. There's the runway. And again, now what we're doing is just effectively putting the velocity vector just on the runway that we're going to be landing on. Because 9 miles, 3,000 feet we said, but we're descending a little bit higher than normal, so again we're just catching up to it, which is fine. Because we've got the ability to do that. So there's the runway straight ahead of us, so this is where the flight plan's been pretty good, so it just sort of pretty much aligns us with the final approach track. 200 knots, don't want to go much slower than that, that can be our approach speed. Yeah, looking good for the distance, let's start getting the gear down. Check the lights. Lights are on, and where are the other lights are on as well. 09. 09 left, I think it is. You have to be quick. I'm going to be landing in a minute. So again, I'm just sort of putting that velocity vector just effectively just shy of the threshold now. So just around here, because we're pretty much on profile now. So 6,000 feet, 2,000 miles. That's sort of what you're expecting. This is where you can start, if you look left, so you can't really see too much. You can't really see anything. So you've really just got to concentrate on the PFD. Just keep a nice sort of thrust setting just to keep that speed, and keep it going down, sort of aim for that runway, don't get too left or right. Wind is more or less down the strips, that's going to help us. It's too late, Christian. By the time you bloody work out what this is, I'll be on the ground, mate. It doesn't matter. We can look at it on another one. So maybe a little bit left of centre line. So again, we've got plenty of energy. So just aiming towards that threshold. We'll just round this flare off a little bit. Float too much. There we go, starting that little bit of a flare, start reducing that thrust. A little bit. Yeah, that's crap, so there we go, we're going around from that. That's too much of a float. Here's what I mean, if you float too much, it's no good. Gear's coming up. Let's keep that airspeed below 300 knots. Let's just do a little circuit about 2,000 feet. This is what I mean. So it's not easy doing this. I think you're looking at the wrong one, Dark. This is Honolulu International. Well, I don't know if it's got an ILS, but is it 09? What is it? 26 or 08? There you go. It should be 08 left. I'm after. Yeah, so I didn't know the exact one. I just knew it was sort of west-east runways. Right, we'll try that again. Mrs. won't be too happy. I thought she'd have been landed by now. Did say 15 minutes. Yeah, it's 15 minutes, isn't it? I probably could have landed, to be fair, but... Hey? Oh, okay, what have you done? So I'm going to do a little circuit. 11.7, okay, we'll try 11.7. 11.7. Oh, there we go. So yeah, we do have a glass. Good. So I didn't even know that. Cool. Done. Okay, well done. Yeah, there is something there. Right, let's try this again. We've got DME on it. Oh, yeah, there was a DME. Sandy. Oh, well done. Alright, let's do a quick little circuit. So what I'll do is I'll probably just stop on the runway and then just stop the stream, just because I need to get... I need lunch. I don't need lunch, the missus needs lunch. But this will take more than a minute. By the time the bagel's toasted, it'll be on the ground. So I just don't have to go around again. There's always a chance of that. So this thing's pretty manoeuvrable at low speeds. So yeah, I get on the ground and stop the aircraft on the runway, and I just stop the stream, and then I'll probably be back on in around half an hour, 45 minutes. Interesting, that localizer signal is nowhere near accurate, is it? Saying it's on the right, it's not. Yeah, those signals aren't really accurate at all. Right, let's try this again. It's just possibly. Oh yeah, that's what I've done. Too late. Done my nut. Alright, let's keep the thrust. Yeah, let's just start that flare. This is looking a bit better. Let's keep the flare, just let the energy drain. There we go. And just hold the nose up for a bit of aerodynamic braking. And we can start using a bit of brake. And slowing down very nicely. Spoilers might help. Good. Yeah, did I do... Yeah, it's gone now. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, that was the reason, wasn't it? Right, good. 119, oh, that's pretty good, isn't it, for Darkstar? That's better than an Airbus. Right, there we go, guys. Thanks very much. So I'm going to finish it there. I'm going to stop the stream, and then what I'll do is I'll try and set it all up, and we'll go from Honolulu to Japan. I think that'll be the next one. So I'm just going to leave it there, stop the stream, and I should be back in maybe half hour or so, if you want to join. But thanks for watching that one, and I shall talk to you in a little bit.